one of the standout performers today are the metal stocks. Let's just pull them up for you yet again. Sesa Sterlite, JSPL. These are the stocks that are up and about today. Sesa is up about 2.5%. Jindal Steel is up 1.5%. Hindalco is up 1.4%. Tata Steel 1.2%. Actually, in the Nifty, among the top 7 gainers, 5 of them are metal stocks, or 4 of them are metal stocks. So the encouragement clearly for this sector coming in on hopes that the amendments to the Mines Act will now be passed through an ordinance. That is the hope. That's what our correspondent Nayantara Rai also told us just a little while ago, that discussions have been underway over the weekend and probably an ordinance will be promulgated to effect the amendments to the Mines Act through an ordinance. One of the clauses we understand in the amendment is that where the state governments do not grant renewals in time, time limits will be fixed, and if the time limit is not honored, the renewal to the mining lease will be considered as given once the time limit expires. Will this make a seminal difference? What are the chances it will come? Sushil Maru, CEO SR Energy, and Mr. G.D. Mundra, Director Sarda Energy, join us in this discussion. Mr. Mundra is with us in the studio. Mr. Mundra, do you think that if this comes, a large part of the problems of the mining sector is resolved?
Yeah, because what you will see most of the time, whenever you are applying for renewal of the license, for years together they are not renewed. Though there is an express, I think, Act itself provide, if it is not renewed, it should be deemed to have been renewed. But still no executive order is passed. And therefore the miners are kept questioning time and again by the state government for various details, and because of some other reason the license is not renewed. Similarly, when you got survey license, then it is to be converted into the prospecting license, and prospecting license to the mining license.
Yes.
Every stage you have to wait for years together. If the timeline is fit, when we have complied with all the requirements of prospecting and we are submitting the application within a certain time, 90 days, 60 days, 120 days, either it should be accepted or rejected, and there should be a regional order. So if this ordinance is coming through the central government, I think it will be really good for whole mining sector, because all uncertainty will put to rest, and this will be really good for the industries.
All right, let's go across to Mr. Sushil Maru as well. Mr. Maru, what are the problems that the mining sector is facing that could be addressed through this ordinance, you think?
See, the mining sector in India faced a lot of problems in the last about 3 years' time. One is what Mr. Mundra mentioned about the renewal of the licenses, and that has caused a lot of uncertainties, and that also held back a lot of investment companies were planning to put up. Second thing is, in the past there were a lot of MOUs signed by state governments with various companies for telling them to make large investment, and then the mines would be given to them later once they make investment, which never got fulfilled. The companies made the investments, mines were never given to them. So half the investment is also having a lot of problem now. So there should be clarity on this particular subject also. Besides, the delays in all the other approvals are causing a lot of problems, and very recently we have seen that because of the confusion about the mines, various mines got closed down, and that has created a lot of problems. Companies had to import a lot of raw materials rather than using the raw materials which are available in the country itself, thereby bringing a lot of pressure on rupee. So we hope that this mines ordinance brings some clarity. Besides, another important point is about the transfer of the ownership of the companies holding the mining licenses or their holding company, which is causing a lot of problem right now, and there is a lot of uncertainty. The Rule 37, whether the company can sell their shares or not, and whether the ownership and management can be transferred or not, that itself is causing a lot of problem. I hope that these issues are taken care of.
Well, Mr. Maru, ultimately these are state government issues. Mining is a state subject. Do you think an ordinance route will solve the problem, or do you think it could get into litigation?
Well, the center has to take it in line on this subject. There are a lot of powers given to state governments. So the center has to negotiate with the state on this particular subject, that what powers given to state government, and in how many days and how many months and what policy guidelines the state should operate within. and what kind of powers the center can keep with itself. But yes, it's a very delicate subject where state and center both are involved in the mining sector. I don't think that this mining ordinance can solve all the problems. Probably the states and center has to come together to find out another solution for this.
Okay. Mr. Mundra, you spoke about the time limit and if it's fixed then it will give more clarity. What about the proposal which provides for issuing a new mining lease for 50 years with a re-auction after 50 years? Is this different from what was there earlier?
Right now the mining license is given for 30 years,
okay,
which was about 99 years quite early. But now I think instead of 30 years, they must be trying to give it for 50 years. That I think once as and when the ordinance come, I think we'll have more clarity. But right now, mining license, whether it is coal, iron ore, manganese ore, is given for 30 years in the first phase, and then it is to be renewed for another 30 years.
Okay. What's your sense about the fact that the mines is a state subject? Do you think an ordinance will help? As Mr. Maru says, it's not ordinance, but the centre and the individual states have to sit down and hammer out solutions and hand out renewals or other permissions.
Yeah, I will agree with Mr. Maru's view, because basically if you see the mines, they are owned and purchased by the state government. So they have the more say, and most of the state government, they want those not to be used for captive use, so that there is employment is created within the state, investment is made within the state. So far this has been policy and state government has been driving these things, but you will see all the state government has not been adhering to the timeline fixed by themselves or within the act. So I think this may be a mechanism where you have some redressal issues, or you can go or appeal to the central government, and probably when the ordinance come, I think center will be striking a balance where they don't accede to the powers of the state government. At the same time, the industry has some forum where they can go and say this we have applied for where time limit is passed, and then executive order can be passed, and this all uncertainty as confusion is put to rest.
But actually, I was just reading on the Mines Ministry website itself, and entry number 54 of List 1. I mean, the powers of the centre, state, and the concurrent are in List 1, List 2, and List 3. List 1 is centre, List 2 is states, and List 3 is concurrent, on which both can legislate. Now, an entry number 54 in List 1, which is the central list, says that the Constitution of India states regulation of mines and mineral development to the extent to which such regulation and development under the control of the Union is declared by Parliament by law to be expedient in the public interest. So perhaps the ordinance will have to come with such a statement that it is in the public interest to legislate on this, and therefore the state subject is being legislated by the centre. But this still does remain, a potentially litigious terrain.
Okay. Mr. Maru, just one final question. There is a note, a report doing the rounds that this proposal will allow the government companies to form JVs with private companies for prospecting and mining minerals. How much of a difference would that really make, and how is it different from what currently exists?
See, currently, what we have seen that in the coal case, where the government companies had a JV arrangement with the private companies, and the Supreme Court finally down all those arrangements, including mines itself, that the law does not provide for this.
Okay.
So, probably to take care of this kind of issue, this ordinance clearly provides for this. And in any case, if we want to open up the whole mining sector, PSUs alone cannot take care of the increasing demand of the mineral resources in the country, and also to tap the efficiencies of the private sector. It is important that private sectors are opted in. The best way is to have a JV arrangement with them, and that's what clearly provided in this, or likely to be provided in this ordinance. I feel that it's a good move, and taking away the doubts and the litigations going forward in this case.
Mr. Maru, we will have to leave it at that. Thank you very much, sir, for joining us in our studio.